Hello, my quilting friends. My name is Leah Day, and welcome to episode 92 of the podcast. And this week, I'm going to share a putter around episode as I set up a new quilt on my Longarm frame, and I share about the unexpected events of this past weekend, which the last 4 days, I can say, did not go at all the way I was expecting them to, and rose to the challenge, had an amazing time, saw lots of family, and it was all good. It was all really, really good. So first off, the quilt that I'm working on, this is the supersized block of the Friendship Quilt Along. And if I seem a little bit tired and disjointed, it's because I have just driven 8 hours from Florida. And so, yeah, my brain's not clicking on all cylinders. But basically, I took the design for block 3, which is our pattern for the Friendship Quilt Along, and I've blown it up here and made it gigantic. And I kept adding borders to this thing. So now it's honestly on the level of where it might not fit on my frame. So I'm kind of crossing my fingers that it's going to be okay. But I kept adding more borders because I had more green fabric, and I just liked the idea of it being bigger. So it kept growing and growing and growing, and then finally I stopped and got home today and ran outside and got a good photo of the top, and then I know exactly how I want to quilt it and get it done quickly so I can enjoy it. This is going to be a throw-size quilt to enjoy on my couch. And I bought some bright green, this is lime green minky fabric, to enjoy on the back. And I am fairly addicted to putting minky on the back of my quilts, especially when I'm quilting on the long arm. I have to admit, quilting with minky on my home sewing machine is not nearly as fun or as easy, but on the long arm, it's so effortless. I just make sure to load it onto the long arm so that the stretch is going down the length of the long arm, meaning that the stretch is pinned to the leader cloth. And so long as I do it that way, then that means that the non-stretchy side is running down the rails, so that as I tighten up the backing fabric, then the backing is not getting stretched out of shape. So that's what I'm doing right now. I am sitting here pinning this is a dark lime 90-inch wide minky. And yes, I am thinking about putting this on my website at leahday.com and selling it. If you would like to be able to get one giant piece of minky for the back of your quilt, let me know in the comments below. And I'm thinking about selling this where it will be cut by the yard. It will not be available in like yard increments. I don't have that capability on my site. But, 2 or 3 yards at a time is really not that bad when you consider how much time it would take to sew it all together and stuff. I really like my backing fabric to be all in one nice big long piece, and I don't have to worry about messing with it. I can just pull out as much as I need, slice it off, get it all ready to go, and get it either on the frame or on my home sewing machine. So yeah, that's what I'm working on today. Now, as for the craziness of this last weekend, I can say it was mostly just a lot of unexpected adventures. And the first was Josh's grandmother passed away last week. And while it is very sad, it was also definitely her time at 91. And I kind of saw it as a relief. She hadn't been able to remember us for quite some time. And it had been really sad to see her like that for several years now. And so, it came as, in my opinion, a positive thing. And, at first we weren't planning on going to the memorial. And, I don't know, it's easy to let things like the business and whatever we plan to do that week, and this whole long list of stuff to kind of get in the way and be like, oh, I had this tutorial planned, and I, have this whole long list of things I need to do, and we can let the list and we can let the business run us, or we can do it the other way around, and we can run our business the way it fits our lifestyle and how it fits our livelihood, and allow that to let us do the things we need to do for our family. And I'm very happy. What ended up happening is we took my mother-in-law Ellen to the airport, and she was just really not in the best shape. And Josh and I dropped her off and felt truly terrible. And we'd already planned on going out to lunch, so we were driving out to Charlotte to go to lunch, and we were both kind of going, we should be going. And we kind of were debating this back and forth, and we both kind of felt like we couldn't leave, with such short notice, and we had all these plans and all this other stuff, and we kept batting that back and forth, and finally it was just like, no, we really do need to go. We really do need to go. We do really need to be there for our family, and that is the right thing to do. And it is also rising to the challenge is going. Rising to the challenge is dropping everything on a last minute and driving 8 hours and embracing all of that challenge and, doing it all. And that's what we did. We went and ate lunch in Charlotte and kind of formed a game plan, and then drove back home, so an hour back home, and then packed up the house in about 3 hours, and then we were on the road and heading down to Pensacola, Florida. So it was a crazy day. It really was. So got down there. We split the trip in half. Probably could have gotten down there all in one day, but we were such a late start. I mean, we were pulling out of the driveway at I think it was 5:30, 6 o'clock. So, we split the trip in half and stopped just outside of Atlanta, and then did the second half of the trip the next day. That worked out great. Got down there and, just able to hang out and see aunts and uncles and cousins that we haven't seen or don't see very often, and that felt great. And so in a way, memorials are sad. It's definitely sad that Miss Betty is Josh's grandmother, and I've always absolutely loved her. She was just such a really, really wonderful, loving person from the very first time I met her, when we were just engaged. And one of my favorite things that she did when she first met me, she said, I know it's very confusing knowing what to call me, because, she was Josh's grandmother, and she liked to be called grandmother, and it seemed very formal. And I didn't really know, I didn't really know how to address her, and it's kind of one of those confusing things. You don't want to say the wrong thing. And she said, I think I should just be Betty. You can just call me Betty. And then Josh's grandfather was still alive at that time, and she said, and you can you can call his grandfather Dutch, and you just call us Betty in Dutch. And that was such a relief. I know it doesn't seem like a very big deal, but I can still remember being 20 years old and feeling so relieved that I knew what to call this woman. It's one of those things. Like I said, you don't want to say the wrong thing and make a mistake like that. So anyway, it was just so wonderful to see everybody and be able to spend time. And while it was sad, as we were, sitting around and I started cooking and making lots of food, and I love that part of it. I love that process. Over and over again, we all kind of were like, this is exactly what Betty would have wanted. She would have wanted everybody to get together, and she would have wanted it to be kind of a party. And she loved that. That was her favorite thing. She loved to have her family together. So I think we absolutely, number one, did the right thing. I have no regrets at all. And it was a little thrilling in a way to just say, we can step away from everything. We can drop everything. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. Let's do this. Let's go on this adventure. And, and then the things that are going to be challenging, getting back on track and getting this quilt ready to go, and, editing videos, and James missing school and all that other stuff. That was all just noise. It was not nearly as important as being with the family on those days down in Pensacola, and we had a great time. So I'm really, really glad that we did that. And that's why this week has been such a crazy adventure. So today, woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, got in the car, And I drove up to Noonan, Georgia, and then Josh took over and he drove through Atlanta, which I don't know about you, but Atlanta scares me like crazy. It's just way too crowded and going so fast. And, you know, we go 85 the whole way. It's just terrifies me. I hold on to the handle over the window and I just think I'm going to die the whole time. This time was actually not so bad, but it is very hard for me to go through Atlanta, Georgia with my eyes open. Because I just find it really, really scary. So Josh drives through that, and he got us through Atlanta and then all the way back home. But yeah, been in the car for about 8 hours, and yeah, just kind of feel a little crazy from that, but not in a bad way. Like I said, I have absolutely no regrets for going, and whatever little kerfuffle it's caused in my schedule, it's kind of like, you know, it probably will end up being a blessing in disguise and help me to be more efficient and, you know, work on the things that are the most important. And, you know, when I compare what I could have been doing with what I did do on Sunday and Monday, I know that I'm so very, very happy that we went down and went to the memorial and were able to see everybody and have a great time. So I'm super happy about that. And yeah, I decided, I got home and I had this quilt ready to go. This tree quilt was ready to go. I needed to shoot a photo for it. And it's kind of like, I felt like I came home just so much more efficient than I would have been. Otherwise, I do tend to put things off till the very, very last minute. You know, oh, I've got another day. Oh, I've got another day, that kind of thing. And so I came home and I was just so efficient. I need a photo of that for the pattern. Let's go get the photo. I know exactly how I want to quilt it. So let's get it on the frame. And then while I'm pinning it to the frame, I can shoot the podcast. And it's just, yeah, I turned things around and became suddenly a lot more efficient. And I think that's more than making up for the time lost. And yeah, feels really good. And I'm excited about just seeing where this goes because here's the other funny thing. On the ride down, I have had a book that I've been wanting to listen to for some time, and Josh and I have been listening to the Bob books. They are We Are Legion, We Are Bob. And it's a really funny science fiction sort of series about a replicant and his adventures cloning himself in space. And it's a 3-part series, and we usually listen to that, but I'd kind of just had enough of Bob. I really wanted to listen to something brand new that would really hold my attention and be fun. Well, I had Atlas Shrugged, Ayn Rand book, or Ayn Rand, sorry, and I had that in my queue for Audible for quite some time. This book is like 50 some odd hours long. It is an epic. It is huge. And so I'd had this in my queue forever, and I'd heard all these stories. Oh, that book is so boring. Oh, that's like Lord of the Rings, only without orcs, you know, and all this other silly stuff. And we got started on it, and Josh was like, yeah, I just understand that the beginning's the rockiest part. We get going on this thing, and I'm like, I love this book. I mean, say whatever you want to about it, but I absolutely love it. And I think that might be part of why I'm just coming home and just super efficient because, yeah, it's a book about business owners, and it's a book about business owners kind of conquering the world and overcoming obstacles and all that good stuff. And I found that really fascinating and really helpful. So maybe that is also part of just what's kind of making me feel just so ready to take on the world again. I don't know. And now you get another view of my Longarm Studio, and it is quite a bit messy in here, I've got to say. Whenever I don't have anything on the Longarm for a little while, and once I did some quilting on vinyl for last week's Frame Quilting Friday, I kind of took the vinyl off and then set it aside and mailed Katie's vinyl back to her. I did kind of a vinyl sample for Katie Baker. And once I got it off the Longarm kind of started becoming a shelf, a very expensive tabletop. And I started putting all of my quilts on top of it. And yeah, and then I have to schlep them somewhere, so they usually end up going to one side or on the floor next to my embroidery machines. And yeah, it's one of those bad habits that I have. I need to have like an open bin or something where when I have stuff piled up or something needing to be done, it can go into that bin rather than on that tabletop. I have some ideas. I have, many, many different ideas for embroidery. I've been wanting to do a snowflake embroidered table runner and then to quilt it on the long arm. It's on my list. Might end up being next year. We're already starting to get out of the whole snowflake season, which is so nice. Being down in Pensacola, I gotta say, there was one beautiful sunny day and I sat out on the back porch and I did some hand quilting. I took a hoop with me, a big hoop, and a door block, and I started hand quilting it in the sunshine. That was just absolutely delightful. And then of course we get back to North Carolina and it is freezing cold. So that's not going to be happening again anytime soon, but I am so glad that I sat on the back porch and did some hand quilting when I was in a warmer place. So that was nice. So on my list is some embroidered snowflakes and then do some free motion quilting around it. The idea actually comes from another hoop quilt that I've just hung on the wall, and here's a picture of it. I'll put it this way. I set up my hoop quilts a couple years ago, and this was after my interview with Anne-Marie Cheney, and I had like one really kind of good springtime hoop quilt, but then all the rest of them were very obviously fall seasonal hoop quilts. So I had I kind of left them on the wall the entire year. All last year, it was permanently fall. And I really didn't like that. So when fall swung around again this year, I was like, I'm going to take those hoop quilts off the wall and actually decorate for the right season this year. So I took them all off the wall and I stuck them all in the Halloween / fall decorating bin. So that way they were off the wall and I wasn't lazy and tempted to leave them up. So then I've had basically kind of a bare wall with hooks on it and not done anything about it. So I pulled out all of my empty hoops, which I kind of had a little hoop buying craze where I just bought tons and tons of big, nice big giant hoops that you can put quilts into. And so I pulled all of those out and hung them all on the wall. And I was like, okay, do I have anything I could stick into these right now? And found a little tiny snowflake that I had already stitched around. And I stuck that in a tiny hoop, and that's on the wall too. And it looks really cute. But now I'm looking at it going, I'd like maybe some more snowflakes or some more hoop quilts that could be any season at all. Yeah, I would like a nice variety of decorations where maybe even just 2 seasons where I have fall and I have spring and I can pull out hoop quilts for both seasons and it'd be really nice. So that's my aim. And yeah, not so much the snowflakes as just nice, kind of the spring summer where it's not real obvious and if I accidentally left them out through the fall or winter, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. That would be nice. So that's on my list. It's not a super huge priority, but now that I have the empty hoops hanging on the wall in the living room, they're kind of beckoning, fill me up, make me a quilt, that kind of thing. So I had door blocks that I had pieced with Quilty Box fabric, and I was just playing around. This was several weeks ago, and I was oiling my treadle sewing machine, and I just wanted to play around. And I think that was the introduction to a podcast where I was just kind of playing around and winding some bobbins and making those door blocks. And I had saved a couple of them that I really liked, and just decided, okay, I will hand piece a border around it, pad it out, make it a little bit bigger so that I had a little bit more space around the door, so that way it could go into a hoop. And yeah, that's what I worked on. And then once I got the ring around it hand stitched on, then I put it in the hoop and started doing some hand quilting. And that was really, really nice. I am still working on my idea for a hand quilting frame. I really need to just get online and download some plans so that way I don't have to come up with it by myself. I'm sure I can find some, either a traditional hand quilting frame or something along those lines where I can just use the plans and build something pretty easily off of 2x4s. My goal is sometime this spring, hopefully, I want to start a hand quilting bee. About once a month to have some friends over to my house, and we sit around and I light a fire and have some snacks and we do some hand quilting together. And this was entirely out of the experience, the amazing experience I had at Heart Square, hand quilting with all of the wonderful ladies I met in a 19th century log cabin. You know, really that experience, I couldn't top it last year. It was awesome. It was that awesome that I've been wanting to do that again. And I have a few friends that are already interested, and they're not necessarily quilters, which is surprising, but I thought that was fun. And I'm not going to be at all picky about, you know, stitches being exactly one size or anything like that. I just think really the purpose is to get together and to enjoy company and to share stories and to have that time as women together. I think that is something that we have lost and we absolutely need to get back, and I definitely want that back in my life, most definitely. So that's my goal. Oops. I have been winding up my thread on my roll. I was like, why is this pulling strangely to one side? Well, because I have been winding up my thread as I've been winding my minky up on my frame. And it's just is one of those lessons, like maybe not talk and try and load your frame at the same time. It's probably not going to work out all that well. I'm going to clip this thread off. But yep, that is pretty much it for this week. As you can see, I'm pretty tired, pretty distracted, but I am very, very happy. I am so just, I don't know, I guess more than anything else, even after an 8-hour car trip, and, you know, 2 days in place kind of traveling and an 8-hour car trip before that, I feel invigorated. I am so happy that I do what I do and I'm able to step away and be with my family and drive 8 hours and hang out with my son and my husband, and that my husband and I have the ability to drive 8 hours together and to be good teammates like that. I just feel completely invigorated and so happy that I live this life and do what I do. And now I just want to do more of it, you know, more than anything else. It's just, I'm sitting here loading this quilt and I just feel so absolutely full of joy for this amazing life. And I know that Miss Betty, Josh's sweet grandmother, is in a better place and back with her husband Dutch. And while I am very sad that she is no longer with us and I don't get to have any new memories with her, I'm going to cherish the memories that I have, and that's really special to me. And I'm so happy I had so many great memories with Josh's family over this weekend. And I think that is absolutely so important, you know, just taking the time for family and to have these great memories. That's really where it's at. It really is. Otherwise, it all blends together, and it's just this, you know, I don't know. It can tend to all blend together into one string of, you know, cold winter months and then sunny spring months and then warm summer months and then back into fall again. And I think we need to shake it up. And I think by shaking it up, it just makes me feel so much more gratitude for the wonderful, you know, set schedule and stable lifestyle that I live on a day-to-day basis. But then it also makes me feel like, wow, there's so much more that I can do that I don't even tap into my full potential on a weekly basis. You know, I didn't sleep all that great, but I still, you know, managed to pull things together and do a great job with the memorial and prepare food for people and make breakfast. And it was great. And I kind of feel like I rose to the challenge and I helped make people happier. And that was really what I wanted to do. So that made me feel great too. And now one last thing here at the end, a super big thank you to everyone that has joined in the fun of the Quilting Friends Club. And I have printed out our new members for this week, and I'm going to read them off really quickly. We have Rita Hollingsworth, Carrie Bennett, Pat Betton, Becky Schroeder, Mary Toblowski, Mary Gregg, Sandy Hansen, Linda Carnes, Pat Fennell, Wendy Fryer, Mary Bollock, Jan Handy, Charlize Westmoreland, Karen Massey, Sonia Anderson, Terry Kohlreiser, I think that's how you pronounce that. Sorry if I messed that up, Tracy. Anna Creamers, Carol Williams, Mary Ann Martinez, Sue Vesky, Martina Canchola, Patricia Strassfeld, Karen Cox, Vicki Locks, Brenda Williams, Liz Borjakoski. I'm really sorry, guys. Pronunciation on names is really not my strong suit. We'll just go with first names. Leslie, Janet, Trish, Linda, Judy, Nancy, Rosie, Stevie, Cherry, Kathy, Elaine, Shawnwan, I think, April, Gail, Sandy, Margaret, Yvonne, Linda, Joyce, Patty, Mitchell, Michelle, Nancy, Teresa, Susan, Chantel, Allison, Orchid, which is beautiful, Orchid, Sherry, and Cindy. Guys, thank you so much for joining in the Leah's Quilting Friends Club. You can come and check it out at quiltfriends.club. And this club is for everyone that enjoys the podcast and wants to see it continue. This also helps me continue to share free tutorials every month. And the benefit of joining this club, which does cost money, it is $2.99 a month or $24.99 a year. And the benefit of joining the club is you get an extra exclusive video all about quilting design. It's called How Do I Quilt This? And I shared the first tutorial for January 2019 last week, and you can come and see it. It ended up being over an hour long, very intense look at 5 different quilts, and I shared 3 different quilting designs and really discussed and dug into how quilting can be made more elaborate, how quilting can be made more simply, how you can quilt your quilts faster, like what are the things that actually make things more time consuming to finish. And I really dug into all of that, and I plan to go even deeper in the next video for February. And all members get to submit images, and I'll take those images, and those will be the quilts that I share this video series for. So I'll take your quilts. If you have a quilt that you don't know how to quilt it, you share a picture of it to this group. I'll take it, all of the images, and share that video once a month so that way you can get some ideas really on how you quilt your quilts on your home machine or on your long arm in the way that you're wanting to, whether that is just simply to get the layers secured together, or that's quilting for show, or that's quilting kind of in between where you might want to compete with it and you might want to hang it on your wall, or you might want to snuggle with it in your bed. So yeah, there's a little bit for everybody and Leah's Quilting Friends Club, and I hope that you'll come and join in the fun. You can learn more at quiltfriends.club. And I will try harder to pronounce names just a little bit better. Yeah, just 60 people joined this week, so that's a pretty long list if I'm messing those up. And as I said, it has been a very, very long day, so I am going to go run a hot bath, and after I finish getting the rest of this backing fabric pinned up here, I'm going to run a hot bath and relax. So that's what the rest of my evening is going to look like. I hope that you have an amazing quilting week, and I really hope that this video has helped you see how to rise to challenges that crop up, even unexpectedly, and to have fun doing it. Because ultimately, I think that was the biggest lesson of this week that I've taken away from it, is that not only was, it was a little sad, yes, but really, more than anything else, rising to the challenge of going to the memorial and cooking dinner and making hors d'oeuvres and making breakfast for 6 people, all of that. It was a fun challenge, and I feel so good that I was able to rise to it, and I was able to be there and able to drive 8 hours and all that good stuff, and just be able to share with everybody and have some good times and something that we can remember more than anything else. So I hope that you enjoyed this podcast, and you'll check out Leah's Quilting Friends Club at quiltfriends.club. You can also find many more podcast episodes at leahday.com/podcast. Until next time, let's go quilt.